You've made it to Securing Windows Server 2016 Virtualization Module 7, which is our final module. In this module, we will be discussing implementing workload-specific security. And that includes, of course, several different topics. The first one, Nano Server. Nano Server is a great server that came out with Windows Server 2016 that allows us to install just the bare minimum amount of services in order to make a server work, thereby making it even more secure. Microsoft Windows Containers allows us to separate our virtual machines and applications from our host computer even further than just Hyper-V alone does, and we'll talk more about that, as well as implementing dynamic access control. So dynamic access control is a lot different than just adding security to the sharing or security tab. We can do a lot more with dynamic access control by locking down to other parameters. So we'll take a look at all three of those in this module. Nano Server was developed after Windows 2008 came out with the Server Core. It's created to have an even more secure environment than Core because it's completely headless. That means you cannot put a monitor on it in order to steal any information. It can be a physical or a virtual server, and we will be installing it as a virtual server. There's no 32-bit application support and only the most basic configuration controls. There's also no remote desktop to administer the system. You have to use remote PowerShell. Even after you log in, using remote PowerShell, you continue to receive the minimal amount of information. Although that might be something that some administrators may not be happy with, it does make the server far more secure. We're in our Hyper-V host server, and we're going to go ahead and add a Nano VHD file into our Hyper-V host. There's many different scripts that you can find on TechNet and Windows Download Center, so you can download the Windows 2016 ISO if you don't have it. And inside there are all the files needed to create the Nano VHD. Let's go ahead and right-click and choose New Virtual Machine. And we're going to call it Nano. We'll leave it as a Generation 1. And we'll give it startup memory of 4 gigs. You don't need much with Nano Server. I'll add the network card, and this time we'll choose an existing virtual hard disk rather than choosing the default location, which won't give us what we want. Here's our Nano Test VHD. Click Next and Finish. Now we'll go ahead and right-click and connect to our Nano Server. And we'll go ahead and click Start. And one of the nice things about using Nano in a Hyper-V situation is you do get to see the screen as it boots up. Even though it's supposed to be headless, when you're in Hyper-V, you can actually go ahead and see everything you need to get into without having to go in through a remote connection. So we'll put in our administrator and password. And we'll type the password one more time. And now we're logged in. And as you can see, we have the minimal amount of information. Let's go ahead and click on networking. And there's our network card that we added during the setup. And it received a DHCP address of .101. Let's go ahead and hit escape. And now we can see inbound and outbound firewall rules, as well as our Windows RM. WinRM is the tool that is used for remote management, so without that, we have no way of getting into the device remotely. We can check that it's working basically by using the inbound firewall rules and hit Enter, and we can see that WinRM under remote management is allowed. And that pretty much covers the Nano Server setup and its use and its reason for administrators to want to set one up. It is great with security, has the minimal amount of information installed on it, so it's very difficult to attack. By using a minimal interface and minimal features installed, you can protect your virtual machine from potential security holes that Server Core and the GUI version might introduce.